Hello, I'm Hamzia from Rock School, and today I'm at the Renaissance Cafe with Estella Adeyeri from Big Joanie. Welcome, Estella, and thank you for having us. First of all, could you please tell us about your earliest music memory?
It's quite hard to think back, but probably like having a piano lesson when I was like 4 and just being at my teacher's house, Mr. Wilson.
Oh,
and I was like really little.
Shout out to Mr. Wilson.
Yeah, just like telling me what to do and stuff.
Sure. And how did you start your music journey?
Yeah, piano was the first instrument I learned. Both of my parents had played like instruments, like my mum. She'd learned to play piano accordion when she lived in Dominica, and my dad also played like piano and a bit of the organ when he was in Nigeria. And like I'm the youngest of 3 daughters, so like I had an older sister who played music as well, so it's kind of just I was always just naturally going to be like shuffled off to do something or other.
So you mentioned that you took some rock school exams a while back. Can you tell us about your experience?
Yeah,
with rock school?
so I definitely did grade 1 rock school on guitar when I was at school myself, so probably about 13 or 14. And I still remember like my piece because I'm pretty sure I only had like 3 chords or something. And but it was really good like having like this goal to work towards like in my learning, because when I'd first kind of picked up guitar I was like, oh, I just want to play like, you know, all the pop punk music I was listening to at the time or whatever.
Right.
But it kind of gave me like a purpose, and yeah, I felt really good to like come away with like a good award at the end of it and stuff.
Big Joanie, they were born out of the First Timers Festival. What was the story behind that?
The premise of it was getting people who aren't usually seen on stage to be on stage.
Right.
So like each band is also going to be playing for the first time if they're taking part. And they want each band has to have members who've either never played their instrument before or never been in a band before. They're like doing something new. But the whole point is like you don't need to be perfect and polished to play the show. So Big Joanie started with that, and I remember that Steph had put a call out when she saw that First Timers was happening, and she just put a comment on Facebook like, I want to start a black feminist punk band for this. Yeah. Does anyone want to join? Apparently Shadeen responded immediately and was like, I want to play drums and I want to play it in this exact way that the Jesus and Mary Chain play it. Right. So she was like very adamant about that. And then the original bassist Kira joined as well, and that's how they kind of got started. And from playing that first Timers gig, they then got offered other gigs, and the ball kind of kept rolling from there. And then I think maybe 2 or 3 years ago, like Kira moved to Glasgow, and then I joined the band on bass.
Rock School released a music production syllabus in 2016, trying to engage DIY producers and engineers. Is this something that you would have been interested in as a student?
I think so as well, just because there seems to be a lot of mystique around that part of the industry. Like it always just seems I think it doesn't seem as accessible as something like just going up and picking up like a second-hand guitar or whatever and get going with it. Yeah. For me, having the opportunity to learn like sounds at DIY Space, where they made it a really accessible thing, and they specified that they wanted people who hadn't had any experience in it before to come along and to just like give it a go and to kind of like learn as you were going along as well. So I think if Rock School is going to have something similar where, you know, somebody who hasn't come from that background can go in, start learning and not feel like intimidated by that whole process, I think that's like something that's really important to offer as well, because that will help to, again, just kind of diversify that field.
What has been the best bill you've appeared on, and why?
I think we've been really lucky to support quite a lot of bands that we like really admire, like going on tour with Parquet Courts. That was the first time we played shows in Europe, and like they have like a really kind of like strong fan base who are all really open to our sound as well. So I think it was a really nice fit for us, and yeah, they made us feel really welcome on that tour as well. So that was great. And then we really loved playing with Downtown Boys because obviously they're so like deeply like political, and that's like tied up in their output, like kind of on and off stage, but also in their music and in the show as well. They really take the time to like talk about the things that are affecting their communities.
And what artists were the biggest influence on your band?
I think starting out, like definitely things like Juice and Mary Chain, Velvet Underground, and Steph was like quite into Riot Girl music, and also bands just like the Slits. So we say that Big Joanie's like a mix of like 80s DIY bands and then like 90s Riot Girl with a sprinkling of dashikis. So it's kind of like just trying to mix like a throwback to that sound. But we're also really like kind of 60s girl group type stuff as well, like the Ronettes. So like we have a song on the album where we're basically like trying to be them. So there's like that big girl group influence as well.
And could you explain Girls Rock London and your involvement with this scheme?
So Girls Rock London is a music charity. At the moment we're based in Hackney. So we predominantly work with young people aged 11 to 16 years old. And we're part of a wider movement of girls' rocks across the world. So like the first girls' rock camp I think started in Philadelphia like many years ago. And they've now since sprung up just kind of like in all locations. But for us, we kind of have like a multiple kind of things we want to work towards. Like part of it is about empowering young people, either young women or non-binary people, to make music, to feel like they should be a part of that, because apparently studies have shown that like age 11 to 16 is in particular when young girls' self-esteem is at its like lowest point. So we hope that we can kind of like intervene in that in some way. And during our camps, our music camps, we do actually spend a lot of time doing like workshops, kind of combating things like low self-esteem. Like we do like a body positivity workshop. So there's that one element, but obviously there's like the music element as well. So like I think obviously as an organisation we're aware there's still like quite a wide gender disparity in most levels of the music industry, from even like performance to production to like who's out there managing artists, things like that, who's behind the sound desk. So we want to give an opportunity to kind of level that playing field by giving like young people the chance to come in and like either learn an instrument, learn about the industry, and we do touch on like tech and stuff as well during their time at camp. And you'll have instrument tuition throughout the week, songwriting sessions, but it's all working towards this gig that you have on a Saturday where you're going to perform your song in front of other people, mainly your parents at the first for the first time. So it's all very intensive. It's like you come in on the Monday and then you're playing that gig on the Saturday. So and it's really fun because we have like open mic stuff like during the week, and then other bands come in and perform for us. We've had like Kate Nash came and played at lunchtime, stuff like that. So it's just like a really exciting kind of a bit of a wild energy for the week because there's so much rammed into it. But the point is to like have kids like feeling like good about themselves hopefully at the end of it, and maybe feel like they can then go on and carry on with that instrument if that's what they want to do, and they've been given some tools to make that happen.
What inspired you to play the bass?
I ended up playing it because people kept asking for bassists. Because I first started out playing electric guitar, and then when I started to play in like bands and stuff, that was when I was living in York in the north of England. So I was playing guitar up there, but then like I think just the opportunity came up to play bass, and so I ended up really just giving it a go, and then that kind of continued. I don't know, I just think it sounds cool.
It's great. So Big Joanie released their first EP, Sister Punk, in 2014, and then followed up with Crooked Room in 2016. This had a version of No Scrubs by TLC. Why this song?
I think, well, partly because just like iconic song, and then like also because like the message I think is still really relevant. So like when we play live, Shadeen usually introduces the song because she has like a big part in it. She always like shouts no! And but yeah, she's like pointed out that even like the message of it is still really tied to kind of like fighting back against things like street harassment and stuff that like is just still like of continuing relevancy from when that song came out. It's nice to have that opportunity to think, well, like, you know, don't dismiss the fact that it was like a really popular song. It still had an important message, and like they still, I think TLC still had some like really like pivotal things to say that managed to reach a wide audience.
We were actually listening to your debut album Sisters in the office yesterday, and it's great, by the way. And we were trying to decide whether you guys were using a recorder or a slide whistle on Eyes.
Yeah, Margo would say that it's not a recorder and it's got a really specific name, but I forgot what it is. But yeah, like that's a keener, I think it sounds like a recorder, but it's not officially.
You also mentioned that you've been on tour for the new record. How's that been going?
Yeah, so that's been really good. We've just finished another UK tour promoting Sisters. And yeah, it's been really fun. Like, it's been nice to tour now that the album's been out for about 2 to 3 months because, you know, it's like now I think this is the first time we've kind of experienced people like singing along with us.
Yeah.
It's like cool. We're like,
oh,
how
great.
do you know that? And yeah, it's just like people have been giving us really nice feedback, and just yeah, it's just cool to see that people are enjoying it and really getting into it, and then coming out to the shows and stuff. So the show's really busy and fun, and we had a couple of like stage like invasions where like we invited like members of the crowd, either like people of colour or like queer people, to come and join us on stage for No Scrubs, and to join Shadeen and like shouting no and stuff.
The album was released on Thurston Moore's label, The Daydream Library. Were you guys Sonic Youth fans, and how did that materialise?
Yeah, so we're all Sonic Youth fans, and it kind of came about in like, I don't know, it's almost like a meet cute or something. I don't know, it's almost like a meet cute or something. So we were, like Big Joanie were supporting the X, like a Dutch punk band, back in June. And so it turns out, I think the first time Sonic Youth came over to Europe, they'd like stayed with the X in the Netherlands at a squat, like I want to say like late 70s or something. So they like went way back, but we didn't know this at the show. So yeah, so we were just playing that show at Electroworks in London. And like during the set, like I had seen some like women dancing down the front, and I was like, oh, that's cool, because I like it when, you know, people kind of get into it and stuff and feel relaxed enough to dance, because sometimes people are very like stiff. But I always think, yeah, you know, like enjoy yourself at a show or whatever. And then yeah, so then we came off stage, and then Shadeen got this tap on the shoulder, and she turned around and it was just Thurston Moore. So like,
wow.
All right. And then, but yeah, it turned out that him and his partner Ava and one of their colleagues, like Abby Banks, so they were all there at the show, and they said they'd like really loved the set, and they wanted to buy some music, but when they got to the merch table, like there was no music there. And and so we were like, oh well, we sold out of our single, and we've recorded this album, but like we haven't found someone who wants to put it out yet, so we weren't really sure what was going on with it yet. And so then they were like, oh well, we want to meet for like coffee tomorrow morning, and like we exchanged numbers. So we were like, oh, a bit like much, you know. So it's all like a bit surreal. Steph has always said that she sees the band as like one example of trying to make like a room of your own, so to try and have a space where you're free from those influences from society and can just like exist like as yourself, just to like persevere and to know that there were like other people who were like doing similar things. Like I feel like
Oh God, that was right.
so chill like just a second ago.